Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Wholehearted Truths podcast. You're probably going to hear our pup in the background eating his breakfast now that it's 4:40 in the afternoon. This is life. We've got a little bit of sass mixed with grit, grace, and a whole lot of faith to lead you to endless possibilities and really help people bridge their gap. Today, we're going to talk about what the faith gap looks like. And I brought back a special guest, my husband, Joe. Well, we had a really, really powerful last couple of days. And something that is true to my core is when something is too good not to share, we have to share it. And so I asked him if he'd be willing to. He said, yes, here we are. So, Joe, tell us, first of all, when you were a child, what did the word faith or church mean to you growing up? Like when you hear that word, what did you really think about?
That I got breakfast afterwards.
They got breakfast after.
My parents and my two older sisters and I, we would go to church a lot, but we also went to breakfast after. So it was a little treat at the end. So when you ask me, what do I think of? I think of breakfast and donuts at the church.
So clearly he got a lot out of that. We were both born and raised in the Catholic Church. We got married in the Catholic Church, but throughout our marriage, we have decided to kind of dive into some different denominations and look at what we want to write for the rest of our story. And so in the beginning, we kind of church shopped, as I call it, a little bit in our area, tried some different ones. We landed at one that we love in our community. And so, Joe, walk us through what was it like experiencing something different the first time compared to where we are now a couple years later?
Yeah, I just think it's different. Not that it was wrong, but it was a little overwhelming at first because it was completely different from everything that we had maybe grown up with in the Catholic Church and getting married in the Catholic Church. So I get a little nervous with change. And I think that's the biggest first impression that I had.
So then to layer back up a little bit, our faith journey and diving in more to something different and just being open to accepting Jesus into our hearts had really started with the work that we do. The first event that we went to, our founder introduced us to his best friend, God, right? And it was a really powerful experience for us. I think for me, at least, to break down and see that like we don't have to be perfect. There's no like earning your way to heaven. It's just being open to accepting the Lord into our hearts and an invitation to do that. And so we got to experience that. For us, like that was completely different. We're not used to business and faith being mixed and intertwined and seeing so many different people come to be a part of that, like openly on the stage, right? As a part of our event. So, Joe, talk about what that was like for you the first time that we were at the event.
Weird and cool, both at the same time. Same thing. It was just not something that we're necessarily used to. In my full-time job, I've got a partner and a team that we're pretty faith open and we talk about it a lot. So that part wasn't weird, but seeing a big body of people all like-minded and thinking the same way was something unique.
Yeah, definitely. That's a good way to put it. Cool, weird, and unique. But that's something that we just chose to embrace. And now it's just a part of our everyday life back home here. And I'm really grateful for the work that we get to do, this business, how it really has changed us in so many ways, including our faith journey. We've really come to the Lord. I was baptized as an adult through this. And Joe had a pretty powerful morning at our event this last time on Saturday at like 6:30 a.m. There was over 30 of our guys in our community, but I believe this gentleman will rally together like hundreds every Saturday morning. So Joe, tell us a little bit about that experience because you're going to be able to share it better than I can.
Yeah. So one of our good friends, AC, who we met through ID Life, invited me along with a bunch of other people to come along to something that was called Mighty Men. And he didn't really share a lot of what it was, but just said it was a group of guys that were going to be going and worshiping together. And truthfully, I'd never done anything like this. So I got out of my comfort zone and jumped both feet in. But what it was is at a church, but a group of men that's led by a former military man named Garrett meet at 7 o'clock every Saturday. And it was rainy. So there's like 250 men there. But they get up to like 300 to 350. And it's just a bunch of like-minded men. And when I say men, like I'm talking like big muscle, like some special operators, Navy SEALs, pararescue, Army Rangers. And it was a pretty cool experience. And that was my first time going to something like that, but also having a message that was directed towards a man, without maybe all the fluff that sometimes goes behind it. And it really struck a chord, which was pretty cool.
He came back like fired up. He was excited to show me his notes on his phone. And I really had no expectations on this. I'm like, super cool that he's going to be around a bunch of other men. I didn't pressure him to go. He wanted to go and be with everybody. We just loved them. But to see the excitement come back and now carry on throughout the rest of his days here as we're back home, that's super cool. That's super powerful. So what would you encourage people, like if they're nervous about this, or if they're just kind of thinking about it or toe dipping, what's one piece of advice that you'd give to somebody for that?
I think we think people care more than what they really do. I think that was talked about quite a bit. Is do what makes you feel comfortable, do what makes you feel maybe uncomfortable too, all at the same time, where getting out of our comfort zone was pretty big for me. And it wasn't weird. It was really cool. And actually I was kind of talking with some other people about next year, we're trying to get, I think our goal is like 100 men to come with us, and just have something that keeps on going on year after year. So it was a really cool experience.
Love that. And if anybody has questions about this, we are an open book. Like, we're so happy to share more about our journey and our experiences. I'm giving you a little tidbit here because we've just got a couple minutes that we wanted to share. But one thing I always love to leave you with is some homework. So today I want you to spend some time exploring. I've done this a couple times with you on the podcast. I know it's uncomfortable. Maybe it's a social worker in me, but silence is powerful. So today,
silence. When are you silent?
I'm working on it. So today, actually in the car, I don't listen to music anymore. I use that time to pray. It's something that I started during Lent and I've carried through, and it's really peaceful. My homework for you today is to just spend some time in silence. If you have never talked to God before, just say something. Like, it doesn't need to be this perfect scripted message, but say something and just open your heart and see what happens. It's not going to do any harm. That's my homework for you. If you're somebody that regularly practices this, I challenge you to put yourself in a position, in an event, in a place that is uncomfortable for you. Try something different. Maybe that means try a new church. Maybe that means, like this year, we're looking at going to a marriage retreat. We've got a couple on the fridge that somebody needs to like actually look at the dates and nail one down because I've done all the research. So put yourself in a place that's going to make you uncomfortable, because we know that when we're uncomfortable, that's when we grow and we really start to see these pivotal moments happen. So with that, we'll leave you. And don't forget to follow us, subscribe, and please share with a friend that needs to hear this message. Thank you.